Now that I've released myself from the clutches of Honkai's Star Rail, I've had people recommending to me Etheria Restart, but I'm gonna be honest, I haven't really been paying attention much to the game. I know it's a turn-based anime-style RPG, but I don't really know what to expect. So I figured, you know what? Let's dive into it with the preview, see what's happening here, and then our boy Daddy Smack has got a video kind of summarizing things to expect for the game, and I figured instead of sitting through a full hour of the kind of dev live stream and then the content creator live stream, I'm just gonna let Smack give me the kind of the Cole's notes here so we can kind of speed this part along. But let's go ahead and check out the preview for Etheria Restart.
世界を滅ぼす最悪を避けるため、神はほぼすべての力を尽くし、自分の身を最悪から守る神の国を作った。俺には力が必要だ。彼らは俺に力をくれ。I am a sucker for getting caught in flashy visuals, I'm gonna be honest. まさか最高レベルの緊急遮断が発生してるなんて。まずいな。数が多すぎる。Okay, character designs are alright so far. Like, I think they're alright. That looked good. Like, the cinematics don't look bad, I'm not gonna lie. I have unfortunately been a little bit Hoyo-pilled when it comes to character designs. Like, that's alright. That's alright. The animation, that looks sweet. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. They're throwing these animations at us real quick here. I'm liking the look of these animations. There's something in the overall rendering that's, I don't know, kind of sticking out a little bit for me. But that, like, but I think overall I'm pretty happy with a lot of these visuals. I'm not gonna lie. Good variety and oh, character designs. We always love a nice red-haired witch. Let's go. I'm sorry. Can we jump back here for a moment? Yes. That's my only response to this. If you were to get a trope, and my favorite trope in a character, it's red-haired women. That's just the way it goes. That's just the way it goes. But seriously, those animations looked really, really good. I'm not gonna lie. There's still something a little bit on the rendering that's like throwing me, but I think that's just, again, I've been kind of brainwashed a little bit by Hoyoverse games. You can't deny their character designs pretty solid. They're pretty solid, and there's something that they do in the rendering that's really good, like in Zenless Zone Zero in particular as well. I really like that. I can't quite put my finger on it. I don't necessarily have the technical know-how to be able to say that directly. However, Daddy Smack here has got before you play Etheria Restart and kind of gonna walk through all the systems. Let's see if this is enough to convince me to actually give it a shot, okay?
On YouTube fam, welcome back to another video by yours truly.
That's way too fast. I think to speed things up a little bit though, I am gonna run this at least like a 1.25.
Yo, what's going on, YouTube fam? Welcome back to another video by yours truly. Before we go any further, I want to give a huge shout out to the Etheria Restart team for sponsoring this video.
Sponsored video, can't trust it.
Now that we got that out,
can't trust the video anymore.
I was deeply impressed with the live stream for this game. I really was. They revealed so much information that I'm sure it went over your head as much as it went over mine, because there was just so much to unpack in such a condensed period.
Floating around, I've heard a lot of positive things about the game, that apparently it's really free to play friendly. It's got some really positive notes about its gacha and summoning system and some decent design philosophy when it comes to the overall balancing of the game. So I am like, I'm pessimistically optimistic here, okay? You know, you got my attention.
Don't worry, I went back, looked over everything off stream, and now I can convey it to you guys so that you can digest what exactly was presented in front of you and have a better understanding of what Etheria Restart is and what it's going to be offering when it launches on June 5th. Easy plugin. And the beta on May 8th. Easy plugin. Free rewards.
Now, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to try the beta because I want to try the game on full launch here. The beta, it does have like you can spend on the beta, but you get like a rebate for it. Like, so I think you get like 1.5 times back or something like that for anything you do spend on the beta. But everything's going to be reset. And like, I don't really want to burn myself out on another beta. I'm going to be honest. So if I do try this out, I probably won't be trying it out until like June 5th. And I'm going to just like raw dog it and just like go for it. I don't want to necessarily watch everybody else's videos on the beta and kind of ruin my personal experience when trying it out.
By the way, make sure you pre-register. You get some juicy rewards. We're getting a 10 pull on the standard banner, which by the way, we know that the standard banner is giving us limited characters placed inside of it. So these standard...
Let's go! Limited characters being added into the standard banner. That's a positive.
That's a positive. Although, as the roster grows, it becomes a little bit of an issue for trying to get some of those characters because there's just so many the RNG of dropping. But hey, I like the fact that it's not like 100% like FOMO. You can only get them on that patch. Then you don't have to worry about reruns as much either.
Banner pulls are much more valuable in this game than they are in the games we're used to playing. Anyways, getting back on topic here, it's important that we acknowledge what that developer did on that live stream. He got content creators in front of him. They threw all the questions at him, the uncomfortable ones that devs usually dodge, and he answered them. Not only did he answer them, he did the best of his capabilities to communicate in English to show the Western audience that he does care. And I think that's something that's worth respecting merely in terms of a gesture being paid. And so that was really cool. I also like the idea
every time it just catches my attention.
Going in a positive direction in terms of predatory practice instead of a negative direction. We got no 50-50s in this game, guys. No.
Who develops this game? Who develops this game? XD Entertainment PTE Limited. We're just gonna call them XD. All hail XD Entertainment. Let's go. No 50-50. Get that crap out of my game. Kuro Games. You had no 50-50 and then you added it with Wuthering Waves. Thank you for another company finally taking that step back in the right direction. That is a big W. Big W in my books, not gonna lie.
50-50s, all right? We've got no weapon banner in this game. We've got limited banner characters going inside of the standard banner. I mean,
oh my
I can't
gosh.
saying that out loud. That's insane.
No weapons, no weapon gacha. Guys, no 50-50, no weapon gacha. And the limited characters being added into the standard banner. Oh, baby! All these other gacha games better be on notice. Because that's big. That's big.
Just this alone already makes me want to advocate this game 1,000,000,000%. It's just nuclear W's all around in terms of a monetization model. That said, I digress. Let's get into the elements of Etheria Restart that I have jotted down on my notes. Boys, we got a lot of notes over here, man. Y'all think I'm lying. Look at all these.
Oh my gosh. Should I read through this? Is this spoilers if I pause this and read through this? Okay. I don't know. Should I go watch that developer live stream? Should I just do that? Hold on. I'm just going to go watch that real quick. Okay. I just finished going through this live stream. I'm not going to lie. Super sick things that came out of that one. I'm really a fan of the design philosophy here. Let's keep going with Smack's video though.
These notes. Look at all these notes, man. My goodness. And we got redemption codes. I'll be sure to put those in the description box. And so without further ado, let's go over all of this. Real quick, click the link down below in the description box right now or the pinned comment in the comment section to pre-register. Free rewards, free
shout out Smack,
and free outfits.
Nice job getting a sponsor. Good for you.
Off with their build
Get that bag.
system. So they have
Get that bag, King.
Matrix effects, and shells. Shells are pretty much the pet companion that you see floating around. We'll get into the details on that later on. It's also pretty much your weapon in Etheria Restart,
which I believe is farmable in game, and there is no shell or weapon banner. Big dub, big dub.
Modules is your gear. Same gear you see in all the other games. It's just called modules in here. We're getting the jar.
That's like the same layout. Even I'm noticing with like ZZZ. ZZZ has like its drive discs kind of like set in like a very similar format. So like very typical from what we've seen. 6 pieces. A lot of what I'm seeing honestly reminds me a lot of Epic 7 too. Like in case you didn't know, I played a lot of Epic 7 on global launch. I didn't make content on it at the time, but I played for like over 2 years when Epic 7 first came out and watched a little bit of the PvP scene there, which I'm gonna be honest is a little bit of my concern still with this one. I'm liking the philosophy that there's going to be no abilities that are gate kept by duplicates or anything like that. That'll really help with the balancing here. But I still think this artifact grind is going to be RNG hell.
Bargains out of the way. Now, the way modules function are just a little bit different in Etheria Restart. There's 6 in total, and there's 3 on the left and there's 3 on the right. The 3 modules on the left have fixed primary stats. You cannot change the primary stats, and they're always going to be attack, HP, and defense.
That's pretty typical. That's pretty
typical.
typical.
Modules on the right, however, you can make those primary stats whatever you want them to be, which is crazy. That means if you're like rocking some crit character.
Wait. Whatever you want them to be?
You want nothing but crit on all 3 modules on the right as a main stat, you can do that. That's pretty freaking cool.
That's sweet. So the one thing they talked about in the developer live stream more so when they're talking about like some of the design philosophy is they were talking about how they want to have like a good opportunity of like build variety for characters. So the fact that all 3 of those slots can basically be whatever main stat you want sounds a bit like RNG hell, like I was saying, but having the flexibility and ability to kind of like try out or experiment with different builds, like going like a giga crit build or something, that's really cool. That really will like lead into like build variety. And for the theory crafters who want to like just get their spreadsheets wajaja out there, that's a big dub.
Substats function the same as they do in the games we play. Every 3 levels when you're leveling up these modules is going to roll
typical.
on a particular substat, RNG
Typical.
reliant. However, they have another cool gimmick on top of this. You can block off, let's say you brick and you get flat defense as a substat. You can actually block that off from ever being rolled on to increase the chances of your RNG landing on the stats you want it to land on. That was pretty fascinating. And then
That's nice. I don't know exactly what the ratios are going to be like for the farming here, but if you have a hard enough time getting like the main stat correct on one of those 3 right side matrix or modules, whatever they're called, if you get like the right main stats on those, and then you get, you know, slightly suboptimal like substats, but at least like a couple of them are good, but you can block off some to like still get those right rolls and have like still really solid usable pieces, that would really significantly get rid of like, again, like gacha hell. Or RNG hell, I should say, more so, which is usually the trouble when you get into a system like this. So if they're doing that so that casuals don't need to grind like crazy on artifacts, and you can have just like decent artifacts to do like PvE content because it's PvE and PvP, that's sweet. I really love that approach. Seems like a really good balance so far between like sweaty players and casuals.
there's matrix effects, which pretty much, and the way I interpret it, it's just set bonuses, right? Depending on how many pieces of the same set you have on, these matrix effects will then activate. And
Seems pretty standard.
You want to try and get those paired up with the shells in conjunction to activate a particular matrix effect. Now, the
Additional
next question you might be
bonuses
asking
and
is,
stuff.
how do you farm the modules? Excellent question. There's a mode called Threshold Mode. This mode has 3 unique bosses with
Artifact
a total
farming
of
stages.
14 difficulties. And the way that's going to function is
14.
every time
That's
you beat
fine.
the boss, you unlock a more difficult challenge or a difficult level of that boss until eventually you get to the 14th difficulty. Now, of
Increased
course,
drop
the further
rates, I'm
down, the
guessing.
better the rewards. But what I thought was cool
There
about
she
this
is.
a continuous
Oh my
battle
gosh.
little perk that you can utilize, AFK. And while it's doing its AFK
Wait.
thing, you don't even have to have the mode pulled up. So you can exit out this mode, go do something else entirely. It will continue to run in the background while you're doing whatever the hell it is you're doing, AFK collection later on. So that was a nice QOL. I really appreciate stuff like that because
I also love that. I hated in Star Rail that like if you wanted to farm for artifacts, like you had auto battle, which was like nice. So you didn't have to sit there and keep clicking the same thing over and over again when you're just doing those farming stages, but it still locked up your game. You still had to sit there and watch them do the auto farming the whole time. So if that's something that you can just like do in the background, because they know they're like, yeah, you know, you got to grind this. See, this is where your drops are, but you can unlock the game and do other things. That to me is like such a great step in terms of like, we have better technology when it comes to these games and what's available. Let's utilize that. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm not someone that enjoys doing tedious and mundane tasks
Thank
every
you.
single day. But if you can do it as a, like, hey, do that while I go and get this done. Excellent. This mode
I would like to say I'm the same way, except I'm also the sucker that still ends up doing dailies every day. So take that for what it's worth.
is where you also farm for your modules, your gear. That's where you're going to get your set pieces for all the characters that you're going to be developing up. So that's your threshold mode. Now, shells. That's going to be your pet. That's gonna be
I
your
love
companion, and
that
it also
witch-looking
functions as
character.
your weapon. Now, these little guys, which they have an abundance of them, they do participate in combat, and some of them function differently. Some of them actively attack. Some of them provide buffs to your team. It depends on the functionalities.
So it's not just stat bonuses. They actually like impact combat overall. Like actually like in there and attack along with them. I like that. That seems like some pretty cool variety there.
Them and your team strategy. But I think that's quite enjoyable because not only do you have your characters on the field, you also have these little mags or pets, if you will, that are going to be contributing to combat as well. Pretty cool. Next up, we
like
have
that.
Grim Pursuit mode. This is going to be the mode for farming your shells, your pets and companions. 10
That boss is stacked.
more unique bosses will be in this mode, and each boss is going to drop a
crazy.
different shell and a module. So, of course, before you jump into battle, you're going to look at what the boss is dropping. If that's the shell you're trying to go for, then that's the boss you're going to farm.
Okay.
Loadouts for equipment are coming on launch, boys.
That is 100% necessary. It was the same thing, I believe, in like Epic 7. Like, you wanted to have gear loadouts because depending if you were taking a character into PvP or PvE, depending on what like stage you wanted to have them, you would have like gear loadouts for it. And so seeing like a lot of similarity between like this and Epic 7, I'm not surprised, and also thinking that like they needed to have gear loadouts if that's what they're going to try and do. They really want to go into this rock paper scissors style battling in the PvP in their design philosophy they talked about in that other previous like the developer content creator interview. They were talking a lot about how like they don't want power creep to be a thing. They directly called out other companies, by the way, which is like absolutely hilarious. They don't want power creep just to be the issue where you just have to get the new latest unit and then you win PvP. They want it to be each character has their own place in kind of like this rock paper scissors like combat. And I'll say that's going to be an intensely hard goal to not deal with power creep but have every character feel like unique or like it has a place.
but like I appreciate that being the overall design philosophy, and the fact that they're setting that as their design philosophy means people can hold them accountable to that in a separate way from then like Honkai Star Rail, where people were just like, yeah, the new character's more powerful. Okay.
I will always be amazed on how excited I get for that. That's a testament to how cooked some of these gacha games are because they don't have any loadouts.
Let's go.
But this game does, thankfully. Moving on to the trial challenges, there's going to be 4 modes for the trial challenges. Let's go ahead and walk you through them. The first one is Anti-Sync Echoes. This mode is going to be short missions for all playable characters in Etheria Restart.
Okay.
It's also a way for you to understand the backstory
Character side
of all
stories.
playable
Okay.
characters, right? So you
That's
go down this
normal.
mode if you want to know the backstory of whoever.
They want to make you
It'll be
like
in
the
this mode
characters
for
more.
They
If
give
you want to
some
use them more,
vouchers
connect
for
them.
for completing these. So you can go down the line,
Free
complete
pulls,
all the
let's go.
characters, get a free pool. And then upgrade mats will be another reward, as well as avatars and cosmetic items. Phantom Theater mode. This is going to
Based. Cosmetic items based.
be your multiplayer mode, where you
Kuro, add more cosmetics to Wuthering Waves, please. You have all this stuff in your advertisements. Bring them in.
can pair up with 3 people, including yourself, right? 3 parties in total
bosses.
to fight 3 different bosses. I thought this was kind of cool because it's like co-op, right? You pair it with 2 complete different friends or strangers. Yeah, you have a bit of a co-op experience. I'm all
Not
for
bad.
co-op in games. Anyways, higher battle rating yields higher rewards. So this is going to incentivize you to make a bunch of friends, pair up with those friends. Hopefully some of them are some
Gotcha game players don't have friends. That's not gonna happen. Oh, so it's a good thing that they have the auto queuing because we all know that's not happening.
juicy wells, and you can get maximum rewards, which is pretty cool. Now, this will reset weekly, so you'll always be able to do that mode every single
raid
week.
boss.
Next
Okay.
up, Ember Trek.
Typical.
This is going to be like your rogue-like mode. We've seen this mode in almost every gacha game these days. It's another rogue mode where you pick between different buffs as you go through an exploration phase.
Like
you fight different
simulated
bosses.
universe or
You get
something? Yeah,
super
okay.
juiced up from all the buffs
Yep.
you choose. Clap cheeks, GG's. Moving on, Ethernet Rally. This is supposed to be the challenging mode. In fact, I thought this was the most unique PvE, I guess,
Ethernet
in-game mode, if you will, because the way it functions is you need 3 different teams to play this mode. They start off in 3 different areas, and then
Here's the thing. I like the sound of that on paper, that you need to have multiple teams that you can use for the battle and exploration, because one of the biggest problems in a game like a gacha game like this, where you have like a big roster of characters, is finding the place that you want to use these different characters, like or not having a need to necessarily have a team outside of like your core campaign team or PvE team that you want to use for exploration. So having more modes that kind of require you to build more characters and gives you opportunity to use some of the characters that maybe aren't quite as strong or you don't quite have a place for them. I like that. I like giving places to do that. Some other people are going to say it's predatory. Oh, now you need more characters. Now you need to pull more. Based on what I'm seeing from the gacha mechanics so far and their approach to it, I'm not worried about that whatsoever.
I guess you just low-key conquer the whole map. And then when you conquer that whole map, you're going to end up being able to get a bunch of rewards at the end of it. Next up,
So that's 2 end game modes we've actually seen so far. Like the other end game modes, I'm honestly not going to really count because it seems like it's like material farming stages. Like it's shell farming, it's material farming for your characters for leveling and progression, and then it's like matrix farming. So I'm not really going to count that as end game content. That's just like character progression based content. The 2 end game modes we've seen so far is that roguelite mode and then that world exploration mode, and then obviously like the different kinds of PvP. So that's interesting so far. I wonder if we're going to go into more PvE endgame content, or if that's kind of what the game's going to be launching with.
guilds will exist in Etheria Restart. It's called unions, which means you're going to have...
Oh, that needs to happen
incentivizations
based
to
on
knock
that.
out
If
certain
that raid
tasks, so
boss
everybody
is
can
going to
collect more
exist, I'm
rewards.
sure
There's
it's
gonna
going to...
be guild.
Veronica, that's her name. Veronica, there on the left-hand side. Guys, why am I a sucker for red-haired characters? I don't understand it. Don't ask me where it came from. I don't understand it either.
Bosses or union bosses for you to fight as a guild, and I think there's a PvP mode that's going to be tied into this as well. So people who are big fans of unions, or I guess guilds, if you
Yeah,
will,
they'll probably
that's
incorporate
definitely gonna be
union
offered in
versus
Etheria Restart as
union
well. And then now
PvP.
coming up, the Vulcan special.
That's pretty
PvP
typical.
mode. This is a big focus in Etheria Restart, but it's not like they're just only focusing on PvP.
Okay, cool. So actually, we got a full breakdown here. Let's just read it really quick. Daily challenges. So the Grim Pursuits Threshold, Investigation, GP Outposts, Phantom Theater, the Ethernet Rally, MBAC check. So those are the child modes, and then limited time events of Cubic Game Mode, Champions Call, and then more. So they are going to be adding more PvE game modes. And then in the PvP, they've got the Ether Arena, Summon Arena, Fearless Arena, United Front, and Ether World Summit. So the Ether World Summit says esports. So they're doing like huge tournaments for those. The Union Battle. Okay, yeah, Guild versus Guild. I totally called it. There was 100% going to be that. And then I believe the Ether Arena is like the normal PvP. Summit Arena, I think, is like the RTA real-time arena, but the Fearless Arena I'm not entirely sure which one of the Fearless Arena is.
PvP. There's your PvE experience, which you just listened to me list off a plethora of different PvE things for you guys to do. And now we've got our PvP modes. Let's go ahead and go over them. So first off, we have Arena Realm. It's going to be 3 different modes. ETH Arena, this mode is not real time. This is the
okay. Yeah, you
PvP
set up your
mode
defense
where
team.
You face off against other people's defensive setups, right?
Epic 7 had the exact same thing.
Participating in this mode, I'm going to set up a team designed to defend off of people. And
yeah,
if you lose with your defensive team, you lose points.
That's very
If you
typical
win,
Gacha
if you
PvP,
defend off
if I'm being
successfully, you
honest.
gain points. So you can climb the ranks merely by having a good defensive strategy.
Nikkei
If
has
you play
something
any
like
other PvP
this.
games in space, then you're
Epic 7 has something like this. I think Summoner's
Summit
War had the
Arena,
same thing.
This is a real-time PvP mode, which means you're going to be
that's
facing
exactly
off
what I
against
thought it
other
was.
players live, not their defensive setup. No, you're playing against them in real time. And then finally, Fearless Arena is going to be a tournament-style PvP mode with 8 players in total in a tournament fashion, and it occurs on the weekends only, Saturdays and Sundays. Finally, they didn't actually provide too many details. They said they were going to announce it later on down the line when the game
seems
launches.
like a fun twist.
Union Battle. This is going to be the guild PvP mode.
All right,
And then
called that.
There's
Called
a
it.
separate entity, a separate beast from this, the best of the best, if you will. Esports Ethereal World Summit. This will be occurring as well, so they're going to be taking this
Europe,
game
America,
on
Southeast
extreme
Asia.
competitive level to where you're going to have.
Where are they getting the money? Is XD and like Entertainment like a huge company that I've just never heard of before? Because there's a ton of money behind this game. Ton of money if they're like coming into it trying to go straight to esports. That's huge.
Esports event for it. I thought that was pretty dang fascinating. Next thing I want to talk to you guys about.
Oh, I forgot they already did a live event. That was one of the earlier like beta things. They got content creators to come in and do like an RTA like live viewing experience, and they really want to push that. I totally forgot about that. Man, they're really trying to push this. Okay.
About is going to be hellhades.com. This was the third-party website that
Hell
collabed with the
Hades.
Ethereum Restart team for guides and basically all of the intricacies and layers.
If you don't know Hell Hades, he got huge
depth
off of
that
Raid
this game
Shadow
has to offer.
Legends. They
If you're
started
confused
their
about
whole
the
website
shell,
kind of based
if you wanna
around
know more
guides
about
and
the
stuff around
characters,
that.
if you wanna know whatever the heck
They
you wanna know
also
about
are
the
in the
game that might be
process of
confusing
developing
you,
their
this is
own game.
another
So it'll be interesting to
resource you can
see
utilize
what
to
happens to that. I
inform
think it's
yourself. They have tier lists
Godforge
here.
is what they
They
call
also
it.
have tier lists for both the shells.
But
and
looks
the
like it's
animals,
basically
animals
like a
pretty much
Pride
majority
Win,
of the
like, tier
characters.
list.
They've got beginner guides
On Hell
you name
Hades.
it, they got it here. And I did take a gander at it.
I'm not gonna lie. Thank you very much, Smack, for summarizing all of that. I greatly appreciate you being able to bring that forward for me because I didn't want to go ahead and watch a whole hour of live streams. Although I did end up watching the one. I ended up watching the content creator Q&A. So I guess I kind of did it anyway. But I wanted a little bit of the context there. I'm talking really fast. But look, I'm gonna just kind of reduce my thoughts to my overall takeaways from all this. Ethereum Restart seems like an iteration and kind of like the next gen version of something like Epic 7. I know they've been in the process of kind of revamping their game. It's like Epic 7 Origin now. I haven't fully tracked what's happening there, but from what I'm seeing in the tech that's involved and coming out with Unreal Engine 5 and being able to create this new anime style experience, it seems like it's like the next generation of gacha style PvP and PvE turn-based combat, which is something I'm really interested to see, and I'm interested to see where it goes. It seems like there's a lot of money behind this, that they're going to be really pushing this game to make it successful, especially in the esports space, which is really interesting to see. However, a lot of gacha players hate PvP. So if this game is going to be like generally like popular overall, I think they're going to need to really prove that PvE content. I think they've made it very approachable with the not necessarily requiring the multiple copies of characters. It seems like there's no features or functionality limited behind duplicate copies, but just stat increases, which really is only going to matter at the end of the day when you're getting to the highest level of PvP and like the esports level. And then you're going to be talking wallet wars, kind of the same thing that came out of Epic 7 as well. So I think it still seems balanced well enough that casual players could have a good time with this game and a good time with PvP and PvE combat, but for its long-term success, we'll have to see more. Personally, I think there needs to be more PvE based content if you're trying to garner like a bigger community surrounding this game overall. Otherwise, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Epic 7 has done pretty well for itself, but now this game is directly competing against Epic 7, I would say personally. So we'll see. It seems like it's got better PvE and story-based content than Epic 7 though, from that understanding. Epic 7 was very much light novel. This seems way more interactive than that, which is really positive, but I don't know. I'm excited to see more. We'll find out. I know there's a beta going on right now. Again, I'm going to check it out on June 5th when we get the full launch of the game, and I'll dive right into it. So if you want to hear more about that, make sure to drop a like and subscribe on the channel, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you all next time.